Louis is a baseball town. You have to appreciate my background. I'm a football player, and some of my sons are football players, and on a given weekend, we're either down at the University of Missouri, or we're at a high school football game, or we're at in those days it was the Cardinals football game. So, but nonetheless, we always did follow the Cardinals very well. And of course, in the years I was mayor, Gussie Busch always invited me to be there for opening day, and he had a big impact on the St. Louis community.
So what's it like, how do you compare, have you gone to baseball games in other cities? Like, how do you compare Cardinals fans with other fans?
Well, the only other ball yard that I've been to is in Chicago when we play the Cubs. We have a great rivalry with Chicago. And, my sons have gone to games in Chicago, and of course they've invited some of their friends here to St. Louis for games. But no, it is really a baseball town, and it's been a baseball town. Ever since I was a kid, we used to have what we call the Knothole Gang, okay? And you could be a member of the Knothole Gang and get into the ball yard for next to nothing. As a matter of fact, I had taken two of my younger brothers, to a game, and somehow or other we lost one of the brothers. And I had a hard time explaining that to my parents when I got home. And but he showed up a little later with the police officer and got him out of a difficult spot. Me and my other brother got out of a difficult spot.
What are your memories of the '68 series? Were you at these games?
No, I had tickets, but I sent my two oldest sons to the game that I had tickets for, so that they could have the enjoyment. And of course, Bob Gibson pitched that game, and I think he had something like 13 strikeouts in that game.
He broke the record.
Yeah, he was. Well, and not only that, he generated the move to lower the mound after that.
So what's the feeling on the ground here? Like, as a baseball fan, I know that you're first and foremost a football guy, but you have kind of two Cardinals teams that have won the World Series already in a decade. You're kind of like on the verge of a dynasty if you win the '68 series. Was that part of the fervor here, the excitement?
Well, I think St. Louisans have grown up with excitement in their baseball team, and they're not always, winning like you would like them to, but they win enough, and they're generally in the hunt. And that's one thing that you really appreciate, that if they're in the hunt, may fold a couple weeks into late September, but generally speaking, if you can feel comfortable, but they're going to be competitive, you feel pretty good about it.
Were you following that series closely?
I can't say that I was following it real closely. Obviously I was a legislator and I was spending a lot of time in Jefferson City at that time, but we did follow it.
How about Game 7, when the series was tied up 3-3 and you had Gibson going against Lolich? Was that part of your
yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah, well, really, I mean, it was an exciting time, and of course you're holding your breath, hoping that everything comes your way, but it doesn't always.
Favorite players from that team?
Well, obviously Bob Gibson was such an outstanding star, and of course you had Lou Brock, who was just a great player, and it's hard for me to recall all of them, but they were an exciting group.
We talked about earlier, we had a nice interview with Bob Costas, the famous sportscaster, and we're talking about maybe it was a kinder, gentler world back then. There was more of a relationship between the town and the players. They weren't multi-millionaires often. There was part of the fabric of the town. Do you think that was the situation here?
I do.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think today, it's hard for people to imagine guys who are just riding the bench making a couple $1 million a year. And whereas you could identify a lot easier, I think, with ball players way back then, and because salaries then were somewhat, they might have been higher than the average person, but they weren't just out of sight. And now the salaries are out of sight. Sometimes you wonder, how can they pay that kind of money? But what it takes is they really have to put an operation out there that can generate the money, and they've found ways to do it. And I think TV, of course, is probably the biggest generator of income for them.
The name of, I can never pronounce his name correctly, the manager, Red Sheindes?
Red Sheindes. Yeah.
Did you have a relationship with him or any?
Yeah, Red, as a matter of fact, Red's had a child born at the same time as mine, one of mine, and his wife was in the same hospital with mine. So that was one exchange that we did have with the Sheindes.
Did you give him any advice on
No, I really wasn't in a position to give Red any advice. He was well scripted in terms of knowing what to do with his players.
How about you guys had a legendary announcer here, Mr. Buck. We drove this morning on a highway that was named after him. Talk about listening to games with him at the helm.
Jack Buck was a phenomenal guy, and I had a relationship with him. If he called and wanted me to be somewhere, I was there. And he used to do a lot of emceeing for various fundraisers for everything from crippled children to various church operations and so forth. If he called me on the phone and said, "Look, I need you to be at this event," I would be there. Okay, that's how much I thought of Jack Buck. He was just a phenomenal MC. Not only did he do the broadcast for the baseball Cardinals, but he was everywhere, and he was really an institution in St. Louis.
What was it like? He had, I understand, a very kind of like homespun, sometimes maybe even sardonic sense of humor. What was it like listening to games with him at the helm? Was that?
Oh, I thought they were always enjoyable. I mean, he had enough asides to go along with his commentary and on the actual progress of the game.
Can you remember the most exciting moment for you in the 68 series? I know you were in and out busy with work.
Yes, well, I was mostly in Jefferson City, and so I wasn't here while it was going on so much as when I was home for the weekends. But no, it was just an exciting time for us, and I can't say that there was anything more exciting going on at that period of time.
We talked a little bit about race. We were talking about race. We also talked about Vietnam. Or was that kind of, politics here a little bit different than up north? What was just the kind of like general feel from your memory in terms of being a part of that time? Was St. Louis, was it a town that was ripped apart? Did you feel like it was both integrated and united? What was going on politically in terms of that landscape for you?
Yeah, well, certainly there was an awareness of these problems, and but I think people generally accepted the kind of direction and the intercourse with persons who have the skill to keep things under control. And I know, of course, I go back to the Korean War, and I was not. I came into the military as soon as I got out of college, but it was a different time, and so the Vietnam War had a significant impact, but we got through it.
Mm-hmm. Nick and Dave.
Yeah.
Did you have any? Those are my general questions. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to ask Jim?
I guess just about, were there any protests? I mean, there was the protests of the students at Columbia and Berkeley and
On the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Was that going on here on the university level with students? Was there a kind of unrest coming from the youngins?
There was